Welcome back to Terra Tinkering. This week we got together a couple planters that we bought from the Dollar Tree. We wanted to create a really cost-effective taking some cheap $1 containers and trying to make a really cost-effective and just efficient little miniature greenhouse that perfectly holds 9 net cups, which we're going to put different garden plants like cilantro and basil and some bush beans in, as well as these little self-watering planters that we happen to get for $1 each, which we're going to use to try to propagate some moss, but we're going to do it outside. Here we have our container that we got at the Dollar Tree, and we paid $1 for this. It's really convenient because if you take out the cups, you'll see that there's little indentations and they pretty much perfectly fit these net cups. Anyway, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be pouring a little water onto this dirt, and then we're going to pack it a little bit into these net cups. And then I'm going to go ahead and plant some seeds in these, and we should be all set. We're going to put this lid on, put it in a heated cabinet, possibly put a heat mat underneath it. Whatever your preferred method for starting seeds and giving them a little warmth to help them get started, that's more than fine. So we're going to go ahead and take this off and actually start wetting the soil a bit. Okay, so there we go. We don't need the rest of this dirt right now, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this away. Okay, so we have some burpee seeds from about 2 years ago, and our plans is to use these this year. We don't have any preference for burpee, but they did pretty well, and I think pretty much all of them sprouted last time we used them, so we're gonna use them again. Today, we're actually taking 3 different types of moss, and Travis and I are both going to do different tests with each one. As you can see, we have 3 of each color of these fancy little self-watering planters that we got for $1. And we're going to put a little bit of soil in here, and then for my portion of moss, we're going to propagate it, and we're going to put this outside. I'm going to be blending the moss up into a slurry, similar to how we have done in the past, using just dirt, a little water, and the moss itself. We're not going to use a lot. We want to mostly propagate it by putting it outside and allowing the sunlight to give it all the nutrients and everything it needs. And we're hoping that outdoors does a little bit better, because we have had some issues recently with just not having enough ventilation, which I know can be a major issue. We had springtail cultures in with our moss in the past, but unfortunately the springtail cultures haven't completely gotten rid of all the mold. So we're going to be putting this outside, and with the outside fresh air and sunlight, it should have plenty of good ventilation that it shouldn't mold and we shouldn't have any issues. But mainly what we're testing is Travis is going to take little plugs of moss, and he's not going to blend it up, and he's going to place his into the center and see if it grows outward and does really well like that. And then once again, mine is just going to be blended like we have for our other moss propagation videos. Anyway, let's get started. As you can see, we have a giant tub right here, and there is some other plants, so wherever I grab from, I'll pick the extra stuff out. This is actually not just one large sample of moss taken from one area. This is split up over multiple different areas, and we just have it all in this one container. So I'm gonna split this up into 2 chunks, that way Travis has a chunk. I'm gonna just lay his inside his planter for later. And the last type we have is something we have not tried yet. So this moss that we have is growing on wood. Now you might not be able to see it terribly clearly, but if you flip it over, you can see the wood. So we're really fascinated to see if this will do well, number one, in a slurry. We're also interested to see if this moss is gonna overall do well just on dirt. So we've never tested moss growing on wood before, so this is definitely a new experiment for us. We're gonna do slightly more moss just because this isn't quite as, it doesn't have as tall of fibers. Okay, so the next step, at least for me, is I want to pack this dirt down. Reason for that being, moss likes to grow, or at least the kinds of moss that we have locally in the areas we found this moss in. The dirt and the soil that it was growing on was a little more packed. So we find that if you pack the soil a little more, it almost does a little better bonding to the substrate that it's on. Now, I'm not breaking it up in any kind of amazing way. I broke it into 3 pieces, pretty much the lazy method. And I'm just gonna throw a tiny bit of soil and then some water in this, and then put the lid back on and spin the blade. Oops. Yeah, still kind of liquidy.
Oh, here. If you need to set it in something, you can set it in this.
That will work. Okay, so considering this is kind of liquidy and I made a little bit of a mistake there, I think I'm just gonna pour this on. It's a liquid. It'll take the shape of the container. We should be good. I will say this might be an easier way to do it. And besides, the extra water should soak into the soil anyway. So I'm not too worried about it just sitting on top. I'll try to do the next one better. But it turned out okay. It's acceptable. This is the second moss type that we're gonna be doing. And it definitely looks a lot different from the first one. Gonna do the same lazy method of breaking it into 3 pieces and call that good. Okay, so we have our dirt in there. And I'm gonna put less water hopefully this time. We're gonna see if it turns out better. I will say, even though I didn't mean to make it as runny last time, runny might in some situations be a little easier. So feel free to make it runnier than I am right now on your own and to see how it works for you, as long as you're putting it over soil and stuff that's not too saturated. So YouTube, just so you know, the camera cut out recording. We don't know when it cut out recording. Hopefully I have content to share with you that shows all 3 moss types, but if I don't, it's Kitty's fault, so. She'll be in this video, you can blame her personally. In the comments, please. So if you didn't see me smearing stuff around last time because the video cut out, just to sum it up for you, I smeared stuff around. It was a lot of fun. You just saw it here. Go and tell all your friends. And I am done. Erica out.
Ooh. Oh, I found, was that scoop always in there? Oh, I only got a lot on the table. Oh gosh. They almost went everywhere. Right, yeah. So I'm packing this down because, so the best analogy I've heard of with moss is think of it almost like if you're trying to get moss to spread in an area, think of it as little people. And if a little person is on like really loose soil or like really loose mountains or something like that, it'd be really hard to walk, right? Okay, I know this sounds weird, but when the soil is really loose, it's hard for the moss to travel because it spreads really slow in the way it actually propagates itself. So when you pack the substrate down, it makes it a lot easier if the moss is on the same level as the substrate so it can walk and spread in essence. I mean, it's not exactly how it works, but for me, it was kind of a nice way to visualize how to best set up the moss. The easier time it has to spread to the same layer outside, the best chance it's gonna have, especially if it's packed down and it's a nice stable layer. But you don't want to pack it down so much that no water gets through it either.
That's loud.
There's some editing for us. So with these, I'm tearing off chunks, and then what I'm gonna do is, after I packed it down a bit, I'm just gonna press a hole with my finger, and then I'm gonna set it into it, so that way hopefully it's roughly level with the rest of the area. So now that we've got them all in the planters, the only thing we're gonna do from here is put them outside. Maybe we will water them, but probably not. Part of this is also just to see how they do outside in our yard, because we did get these from parks. They're a little bit different of environment than our yard is. And with these mosses going on in the yard, that kind of is going to be wrapping up a lot of the stuff we're doing when it comes to the gardening aspect of the projects that we have going on right now. But next week, we're gonna be kicking off another ecosphere. We haven't done one in a little while, so we're pretty excited to actually get the ball rolling on a new ecosphere. And until then, enjoy some of these bloopers courtesy of Erica.
And welcome back to Terra Tinkering. Thank you for watching, and this week we have plans to start some seeds germinating. Yeah, she did. In a little greenhouse we got for $1 from the Dollar Tree. No, I can't use this.